Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Razan Pereira. Crimes against women have been in focus over the past few weeks, with several heinous ones being reported across the country. There was uproar in Kashmir after a 3-year-old was raped by her neighbor in Bandipora district. While the police promptly arrested the accused, protesters are demanding capital punishment in the case. Days after the gruesome crime, just 50 kilometers away in Gandarbal district, another minor was allegedly raped. Meanwhile, in Rajasthan, a young Dalit woman was allegedly raped before her husband in Alwar. On April 26, the woman alleged that a group of youth stopped the couple who were on a motorcycle and gang raped her. They also filmed the incident. Elsewhere, in Uttar Pradesh's Hapur, horrific details emerged of the alleged prolonged sexual assault of a 20-year-old woman who has claimed that she was thrashed, tortured and raped by multiple men over a period of years starting in 2014. The woman's husband said that the couple approached the police multiple times but were turned away. These are just a few incidents that have been in the news in recent days. On International Family Day today, we will analyze the role of the family in tackling crimes against women. Joining me on the program today are V. Rajalakshmi, sociologist, Janki Devi Memorial College; Rekha Sharma, chairperson, National Commission for Women; Namrata Gupta, counseling psychologist and motivational speaker; and Rekha Agarwal, advocate of the Supreme Court. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Rekha Sharma, I'd like to begin the program with you. First, let's try and understand and try and figure out what is the single largest problem, or what is the single largest reason as to why so many crimes are committed against women.
See, first of all, while sitting here on this chair from last, as a member 3 years and then now almost 1 year, I've seen that number of crimes have been increased, especially by the minors, on the minors. Juveniles are doing such kind of crimes against minors, and what I feel that somewhere the parental guidance is lacking, whereas the technology is being spread all over, but how to use that technology the children don't know. Earlier we used to have a joint family system where even if the parents are away, their grandchildren were there to guide them. But nowadays the nuclear families are there, where both the parents are working, and somewhere I feel that the first schooling which a child gets from the family, consciously, unconsciously, the child learns from the family, from the parents. And when they see how one's father is behaving with the mother or with the other family members, unconsciously the child learns from that behavior. Secondly, I see that when they most of the time when the parents don't have time, they provide gadgets to the children, whether computer or smartphone or whatever, but they don't teach children how and what to watch on those smartphones and on internet. So child has got all the things, the whole world is spread out there for them to see what all are there, and when you give them such wide choices, at that tender age they tend to slip towards, we also say that water always slips towards the down. So wherever it is the easiest, a person's mind goes to that side.
Right.
So I think that we need to have parental guidance more to these young children. The society has got the equal role in that.
Okay.
When something
I think that's a very important point that you made, Rekha Sharma, about the role of the society. Let me bring the sociologists on the panel into the picture now and talk about the role of society. V. Rajalakshmi, couple of aspects that were raised by Ms. Sharma there. Let's talk about them. One, of course, the role of the parents. Second, changing times. Families have become nuclear families, no longer the joint system that we have today. Times are changing. So how does the society also change?
Yes, you are absolutely right. Society is changing very fast. earlier we used to have a nuclear family, joint family, where the parents, the grandparents, all 3 generations used to be under the same roof, sometimes even 4 generations. There used to be early marriage. Women mostly used to be at home only. So all the women would take care of the children. The children had a close emotional bonding. In fact, it used to be a very close-knitted family. Then slowly the society changed, it developed, it became complex. It became essential for women to move out of the houses because no longer a single parent could manage. So therefore, with urbanization, there was a huge migration. Industrialization led to migration. People started moving in smaller families to distant places. As a result, the nuclear families came up. Slowly again we see a circular change, that is again the joint families are slowly coming up, mainly because again, as you mentioned about the increased crime, also the parents get scared to leave their children behind without anybody's guidance. So again we do have a little tilt towards the joint family. But unfortunately what happens is, because the marriage age has increased and there is a big gap between the generations, it becomes very difficult for the older people to leave their houses and come back and stay where the younger generation or their own children are staying.
And probably even take care of the children.
Take care of them because the age wise also. So therefore, it is very wrong to say that the joint family is the solution for all kinds of problems which the society is facing as far as the family values are concerned. It's a very relative term. 2, I also say that society is changing so fast, young people don't have, I mean, I'm not justifying that, you know, crimes are good or justifying the crime, but unfortunately young people are frustrated. There are not much avenues left for them. Society, there are too many demands on them also to be very competitive, to take care of themselves at a very young age. Yes. And the status of women has also changed. She has also become a very independent woman. So there are less children at home. So all these factors are leading to people becoming isolated. So when they get isolated from the society, their mind turns to criminal activities.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, man is a social animal.
Yeah.
So when
so unfortunately, yes, that's what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me bring in Rekha Agarwal into the picture. Now, you know, there are several stringent laws really to deal with the problem as such. So I don't think laws are a problem, but is implementation an issue? Because, you know, like Rekha Sharma was mentioning in her opening remarks, she was talking about how minors are now committing crimes against minors, and that's something that we've seen more of.
That's a very shocking trend that one has seen of late, and in fact every morning one gets up and picks up the newspaper, and along with the cup of tea which you like to cherish, the front headlines on the front page say that a minor has been molested or a minor has been raped, and often, as Ms. Rekha Sharma also said, that very often the perpetrator of the crime is a minor himself. So in such a situation, as we were talking about the legal provisions, there's no dearth of laws. You know, in fact, very recently in 2013, the POCSO law has also been enacted to protect the minors, minor children, and that is and this is one of the first laws of the land which is gender neutral, where we're talking of protecting not only minor girls but also minor boys who could be subjected to sexual crimes. So I feel that there's no dearth of laws. You know, the Indian Penal Code was having many stringent provisions in itself. Then after the unfortunate Nirbhaya case, the amendments which were made on the suggestions of the Justice M.L. Verma committee in the year 2013, which has again made the very concept of law has been it has been widened to include any kind of a crime which is without consent against a woman to be treated as a crime. Then, as I just mentioned about the POCSO Act, then there's also been the recent POSH Act about protecting women from sexual offences at the workplace. Now, in this scenario, when we are having so many laws at our hand, despite all that, yet we see that the crimes are increasing day by day. I think it is not only the implementation. Implementation comes secondary. I think the first thing that is coming is the lack of education and lack of awareness about the laws. First of all, I mean, as they say that, you know, there's no fear of law and there's no respect of law. So when there's no fear, when there's no respect of law, when people are not even aware that committing a sexual act against a minor amounts to a crime. I mean, you could be raping not only a woman, who's an adult, but if you're taking any kind of a advantage of a minor girl's age, that is a much more heinous crime than rape per se under the Indian Penal Code. So when people are taking children for granted and not realizing that what we are committing is a crime, and if talking about now that we're talking about families in the context of the Family Day, the International Families Day, what is shocking is, Frank, that some of the biggest crimes that take place, the sexual crimes that take place, they take place within the family.
Yeah.
They take place within the family. That is that is when a person of trust, when the child, reposes his faith in a person of trust, his relative, and that person could be as close as your own father or your own aunt or any uncle. When the child reposes his or her trust in that person of trust, and that trust is exploited.
Right.
So where are the family values that we're talking about?
Sure.
So whether it is a joint family or a nuclear family, the child gets exploited first within the four walls of the family, at home. So that mindset has to be changed, that if you take any advantage of a child, by only because of the fact that you are his or her close relation, you are committing a heinous crime, which amounts to a crime under the POCSO Act. Not many people are even aware that there's a crime called the POCSO, there's an enactment called the POCSO Act. So I think that before we talk of implementation, first of all, we have to make sure that the public at large is aware that there are such stringent laws which if enacted could become very, very deadly for the accused person.
Absolutely. Talking about mindset, let me bring in Namrata Gupta now. What is the psyche, what is the mindset really of the person who goes out and commits a crime like this? In your career, you must have come across many people, and can counseling help them really?
Yes, of course. On this International Family Day, I want to greet the nation for this, and I definitely acknowledge the effort you guys are making to make us understand, to make the society understand that what awareness and how change of mindset can play a prominent role in developing awareness in the society. The family is the first basic unit of society. Family is the first basic unit of society, and inside the family we learn our first lesson of relationship. Inside the family we learn our first lesson of relationship. When inside the family we don't feel secure, we don't feel trusted, we don't feel pampered, we don't feel loved, we don't feel cared, it has a huge psychological and emotional impact on the development of that child. And if that child is extorted or is sexually abused by his own father, grandfather, uncle, or any close relative in that family setup, that child has a huge impact on his future development, definitely. But yes, I think that counseling and awareness and change of mindset and education can play a prominent role in the society, where we can educate kids, we can educate people, we can change the mindset, and with counseling we can help them how to heal and how to make parent aware that with their awareness, with their intervention, with their help, they can protect the family setup, they can protect the family culture, and I think with this help we can definitely make our kids more secure and we can make the family more progressive.
Sure. Let me widen the scope of the discussion now and try to bring in a few more aspects. Rekha Sharma, what can the state do really as far as crime against women are concerned? How do we ensure that we bring down the crime rate, and is the scope of the state limited also in a sense?
See, the laws, as other panelists said, the laws are at place, and they are very much now they are stringent also, but mostly the awareness is a problem. People don't even know what laws are there. So first of all, this awareness word is very commonly used, but most important word is there. The state has to work towards making people aware of these laws, and also if they don't go by those laws, what all punishments are there for against them. Those punishment also they need to know. And secondly, we should catch these students young. We should start gender sensitization program at schools. That is very, very important. In fact, in the commission also, we were earlier doing in colleges, but now we are thinking to have these gender sensitization programs in the schools, and starting with all the KVs we are going to do in this year. We'll be reaching to every school, talking to the young children, and this is not only with the girls but boys and girls both. We'll be teaching them these gender laws, gender sensitization, everything. Whereas the state is concerned, implementation, we also find that it is a problem. See, the FIR is been lodged. The number of cases which you are seeing increasing is also because number of FIR is increased these days. Earlier, police never used to lodge FIRs the way it is lodging these days. But then after FIR, what to do? They don't even go for proper investigation. Even the police people don't know how to investigate these crimes. Right. They don't know the juvenile laws also. Many a times they don't include those laws in their FIR. So when we go there, we point out these things also. Police, we need to change our police forces in a big way. I'm sorry to say that most of the cases start from police apathy also. Right. When a woman goes to police, the way they treat her is another problem, because next time that women will never be able to go the way she's been handled by the police. Okay, so you're calling for police reforms basically as far as this particular issue is concerned. Sensitize our police force, to teach them how they have to. Right. Okay, let me take the points that you're making forward and bring in the other panelists as well. I'm sorry to cut you short, but we've got limited time, so I'd like to get in views from the other panelists as well. V. Rajalakshmi, as a society, we are members of this society. What can we do? Maybe, some community workshops or something on those lines, so as to ensure that the society as a whole is sensitized.
Very important. Now, hearing all the panelists, all I want to say is that, yes, definitely I do agree that family is the first unit of socialization for a child. Earlier there was too much of a dependency between the generations. There was a close-knitted family. Unfortunately, now there is too much of a distance. When we talk about awareness, it's not that they are not aware of it. In fact, they are too much aware of it. It's actually related to the class also. You cannot say that the crime as a whole. It's a class related, in the sense that, we have to understand the society as class divided. So the lower class, which are living in a very small area, the space is very limited, they get exposed to what the parents are doing too closely, and their avenues are so less for them to let out of whatever they're experiencing. So therefore what happens is their mind gets diverted very quickly to the negative aspects. The middle class families, of course, are struggling very hard to meet their daily demands. The mother is going out of the house, the father is busy, the children are busy, and they also get exposed to technology, and there is a distance, because in a metropolitan cities like Delhi and all, the traveling times is too much that it becomes very difficult for family to be close together. So what I'm trying to say is that the dependency between the generation is not there anymore. And when people say that there is a lack of awareness, in fact, I say there is too much of awareness. Right. And then the awareness, the loopholes, and how to get away from it is also very closely known to people. Okay. And unfortunately, what happens is that laws are there, of course. They also feel that, who's going to bother us? Like, we'll go scot-free. So this kind of an attitude is there. Now, coming back to what the society can do to change all these things is, most important is that the students should be engaged fruitfully. In our college, like I teach in a college, so therefore what we do is we keep telling our students to be engaged with community activities, so that they understand the realities and also understand how to cope up with it, which means basically ground realities have to be known and to engage them in ground realities, so that they also know how to deal with it. Yeah. At a college level, it's implementable, but how do you do it on a large scale? At a large scale, what happens is that you have various kinds of workshops, like happiness workshops, how to be happy, because the society, see, what happens is that it's a very natural, when we go out somewhere and we get exposed to a very luxurious life, we feel very deprived. So first thing what we do is we try to harm others. There's a power relation which they say that if you give, somebody gives you a balloon and a pin, what do you do with it? You burst it.
Right.
That's the way, because everybody wants to show their power.
Sure.
So, you know, showing your power over others, that's what the way the the criminal behaves, you know. So what happens is, that's the way the society runs. So in order to bring society back to normalcy, it's very important there should be a lot of community activities.
Right.
There should be a kind of get-togethers where people should know each other, and there should be, like, the neighbors should get to know the neighbors. There should be community activities.
Right.
So that at least if some problem is there, the neighbors can, because today what is happening is, in a metropolitan cities, you don't even know who your neighbors are.
Yeah, absolutely. So more socializing is the key, is what you're suggesting.
Yeah, social,
okay.
Yeah.
Rekha Agarwal, I'm going to go back to a point that Rajalakshmi was making about, how there are loopholes and people are not really too worried about the law itself. So in that scenario then, does the judiciary play a bigger role?
Absolutely. I mean, if, as Madam Lakshmi said right now, that, people are looking for the loopholes in the law and they think that they will get around it. Unfortunately, I must admit that in our country as a whole, we Indians have a scant respect for law. And probably that old saying, as they say, that what you get in the courts, tariq pe tariq, that kind of an image which the mindset carries, that, okay, whatever crime that we will do, we'll get around it. After all, the case is going to linger on for years and years in the court, and ultimately, by that time, many of the witnesses would have died and there'll be lack of evidence, etc., and we'll go scot-free. That mindset has to be changed. Our legal system is, of course, a very, very foolproof legal system that we have, in which nobody can go scot-free, but there are people who find the ways to get around it by nitpicking. And it is the time factor which is very important, because one of the basic fundamental rights, which of course plays both ways, is that nobody is condemned without being heard. So since this is the biggest protection that a constitution guarantees, even for the accused person, before we hold him guilty, there have to be more fast-track courts for this purpose, so that any crime which is of a sexual nature, not only against women, not only against girls, but even against boys, and not only against boys but also against men.
Right.
There can be sexual crimes even against men. So it is high time that we became more gender neutral and gender sensitive when we're talking about crimes, about sexual crimes.
Sure.
And so these kind of crimes should be tackled by specific courts, fast-track courts, and this awareness has to be, this should be on a public in the domain, that how many sexual crimes are reported in every police station, what is the stage at which these cases have reached, what is the rate of conviction, what is the rate of acquittal, etc. And if these kind of things are highlighted by the media, that it is not every court, every case which just goes on lingering and gathering dust, in the court, but ultimately these courts do see a final quietus. There is a final quietus to each case. It is not as bad as it is portrayed, particularly in the Hindi movies. The Bollywood has given a very negative role of the judiciary. So that needs to be improved. And yes, as I say, that what goes around comes around. As I say, कि कानून के लंबे जो हाथ है वो कभी ना कभी पकड़ लेते. So the law catches up with you. So be scared of law. Respect the law. Only that is the way to go around.
Absolutely. Namrata Gupta, the last decade, would you say, has seen an erosion of family values, and how do we ensure that we get that back?
Yeah, of course, there is erosion of family values, because these days the word has shifted from values to materialistic word. We are more in the need of 2 cars, 4 bungalows, foreign trips and this and that. So we are becoming too much of materialistic, and because of that materialism, the family value system is coming down, because we don't have time to give to our kids, we don't have time to sit with our partner, we don't have time to sit with our family. When we are not sitting together, when we are not communicating with our families, when we are not sharing our emotions with our family members, how will we feel that connection? And because of that lack of connection, because of that lack of understanding between the families, there are certain other side effects of this coming inside the family and then in the society. I think, because I said as earlier also that family is the first basic unit of the society, we need to understand what and where we can develop a good, committed, connected family. And I think technology is playing a very bad role, because the misuse of technology is too much these days that we do not know how to use it. We are using technology for cutting the throats of each other. We are not using technology to create a connection between inside the family and inside the society. As the knife is misused for other things, though we can use it constructively also. So the technology is playing as a victim, as a culprit, to create a bad scenario in the society.
Sure.
I think we need to understand where we can and how we can create a value system in the society, where we can nurture, where we can support, where we can give love, and where we can create good family system.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think very well said and very well put by you. But closing comments now from all my guests. I've got 2 minutes left on the program, so I'm going to ask you to be brief, starting first with you. Rekha Sharma, what's the best way forward really to deal with this issue?
Children should be persuaded to go out and play. First thing is, like sitting at home and watching TV or on the computer. We should, like other panelists also said, that we should involve the society, we should involve neighbors, we should have more social life. These days we are not even meeting neighbors. Our children don't know who is staying next door, in our days we used to go out and play with the other children, so that should be persuaded. We should tell our children to go out. And secondly, women should be respected at home. It should start from your own home.
Absolutely.
When your own home, women are respected in your own home, children learn from there. If you are treating your son in a different way and a daughter in a different way, that's how your child learns how to treat a girl.
Absolutely.
So
I think both very valid points there. Respect women and also send your children out to play. An idle mind is a devil's workshop is an adage that we all know very well. So I think we should implement that as well. Virajalakshmi, best way forward.
I totally agree with Rekha Sharma ji saying that, it's very important that socialization should be there. Apart from that, I feel that between the two generations, there should be a strong relationship of authority and respect. I mean, I really don't agree. A lot of people fight with me, argue with me, saying that, parents and children should be friends. I don't say that they should not be friends, but more than that, there should be a relationship of authority and respect, the gap, so that, at least one is scared of, openly admitting or openly doing what they're doing. I'm not saying they should not be sharing, but what I mean to say is that there should be a certain kind of things which they should learn.
Right.
And that comes only when you respect your elders.
Absolutely.
So that kind of a respect for elders should be there.
Rekha Agarwal?
I think that there should be more awareness about the laws of the land. In my various workshops that I have been participating in, I've been appalled at the lack of knowledge that even the so-called educated people in metros have about the basic laws. People do not even know what the Indian Penal Code is all about, or what Section 376 is, what is the POCSO Act, what is the POSH Act, what are the amendments to the criminal law. So when people in metros who are the educated middle class per se are totally ignorant about it, what can you expect in the B-grade towns, or what can you expect in the villages? So this awareness about the law has to be there, and people must know that that law ultimately comes around. What goes around comes around. There may be, as I say, justice delayed is justice denied, but the arms of law are very long. Law catches up with you. Very recently, just a few days ago, I was reading this article in the paper where a person had committed a crime somewhere and he was living another life somewhere in UP, and he was caught after about 10 years. So ultimately, you're going to carry that guilty conscience your whole life until you are caught. So be scared, be aware, and respect the law.
Absolutely. Namrata Gupta, close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
Fear of law. Second, socialization. And third, right use of technology. Misuse of technology has raised many other crimes in the society, be it rape and 1,000 other scenarios. But I think right use of technology and right use of media and media support can definitely help us to deal with these kinds of situations. Yeah.
All right. All right, with that, I'll call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. A lot has come out of this debate, of course. We need to socialize more. We need to send out our kids to play some more. And change will start only at home, is what the panelists are suggesting. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. See you again next time.